Yo, I'm Matt,
And I'm Joel,
and
and
we're
we're
FringeCraft.
FringeCraft.
Today we're going to be covering our second go of Bohemian Grove, and this is something that was covered on Joe Rogan this week, and we thought it would be relevant to revisit what was said. They had Alex Jones on, and he was the guy who actually broke the story, as we talked about in our last video, and so let's get into the video and see what they discussed this time.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Who goes in there?
Well, people I like. I mean, Clint Eastwood's gone. He's not really a member. Look.
Is it fun?
It's 2,700 acres. It was set up by Mark Twain, and it was a liberal deal for like hookers and gay dudes and just everything else. Just a big, huge
Would you say gaydeds? What?
gay dudes.
Gay dudes. I was like,
No, I'm saying if you go back to like the 1870s when Mark Twain set up, it was classically liberal. It was partying. It was their own 2,700 acres. It was saloons. They brought in female hookers. There was gay guys in there. Everything. It was Bohemian Groves, what they called it that, because people did whatever they wanted. And it was open, and they had like poetry and they had plays and they had all the rest of it. Then by the time of Howard Taft became president, the Republicans basically bought it. So the reason it's important is the Republicans go there to they ship in all these private hookers, all these jets land nearby, but they also have a lot of gay sex, which they use then to basically compromise people into the cult. And so there's a lot of gay sex.
how do you know this?
It came out in news articles. No one ever got footage of it. I was in there for one day. I snuck in. I looked good back then. They hit on me a lot. I had people I recognized from TV walking around. Hey, let's go right now. I mean, it's a big gay hookup deal for Republicans. I'm just telling you what it is. And then they've got this ritual that's only the feeder group. So I'm sitting there during the ritual, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. And the dude goes, shut up, I'll kill you. And they're all taking it very seriously. And I'm not saying it's a gay thing. I'm saying that some of that goes on there.
You were saying it was cool and people were getting angry that you were saying
No, I mean, I was just quietly going, oh, this is really interesting. And they're like, shut up. This is a very important ritual. And they were taking it very serious. This hearse comes in with the body of a child. It is an effigy. They're not killing it. And
it's just a bundle of sticks, right?
Yeah, well, it looks like a kid. No, later, others infiltrated later that worked there and got us photos of it. It's an image of a kid. It's a little kid.
Because Moloch in biblical is who they sacrifice the Canaanite.
It's a
kids.
bull, but
Yeah.
they do it as an owl. But
They do it as an owl, yeah. But that's from the Bible, is you would sacrifice a child to Moloch.
Give not your
Yeah.
children to the fires of Moloch.
Right,
And
right.
and so I've given it to experts in religious history. It's not even, from Christian perspective.
So this is something we talked about last time, is the biblical perspective of this. And from my understanding, what would happen with Molech is they had this bull-shaped, like a standing bull-shaped, like statue made of metal, and they would put their children either in the arms of it or in the statue, and it folds up, like the arms would go like this, and they would then heat up the statue until it was like molten.
Jeez.
And sacrifice their children. Similarly, I saw an episode of Game of Thrones where they had like the dragon priestess said that they had to sacrifice, or this guy had to sacrifice his daughter for some reason, and for victory or for rain or something, and they thought similarly that sacrificing to Molech would bring the rain or bring fortune or whatever.
I saw a similar concept in the movie Odysseus that came out, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, probably, something like that, the bull. The other thing, so Alex Jones here, he's talking about the ritual and how serious they take it. I mean, last week we said, like, maybe they take it, maybe they're performing this ritual and they're doing it like, oh, we're just being ironic, or we're not taking it seriously. He's saying they're taking it seriously. So this is, and he was there, so this is even more evidence that something weird's going on in Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's
get
see
back
what's
to the
going
video.
on here.
It's a Faustian deal mixed with Babylonian and religious stuff from Tyre.
Yeah. It's
Like,
quirky.
look at that. Look at that owl god, and look at the fire underneath the owl god.
And there's Ronald Reagan.
I mean, if you saw that, if you were in the woods and you just saw that, you would be terrified.
And Richard
in
Nixon
my
said,
pants.
Richard Nixon, on the Richard Nixon tape, says it's a gay orgy.
Richard Nixon said
You
that?
can pull up, Richard Nixon talks about
Yeah, Richard Nixon said something about it where he...
it's the most goddamn faggy thing you ever seen.
I think it's just allowing.
Well, nothing against. That's what it's saying.
I think it's guys that aren't gay that engage in
Experimenting.
gay acts in the woods, and then they have something on each other, similar to Epstein's Island, where
That's
like,
it.
that's what it is.
It's like a fraternity doing that. You got to screw.
So
it up.
is that part?
hazing,
Hold on a second. What is this here?
and they don't allow women.
No.
It says founded in 1872 by a group of male.
That's the context that YouTube adds.
Bohemian
If you talk
Club?
about Bohemian Grove, this is the title of the video.
See, I told you, founded 1872.
Richard Nixon,
I know what I'm
Bohemian Grove, most faggy goddamn thing he could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, play it. 100% play it. I want to hear
It's
this.
the Nixon tapes, yeah.
Let me hear this.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand?
Northern California.
You know what's happening in San Francisco. Just gone. It's clear over. I understand, but it isn't just down in the ratty part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend, from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine. The San Francisco crowd that goes in. It's
The
just
San Francisco
terrible.
crowd goes in there. It's just terrible. Okay.
So weird.
That is just ridiculous. Well, first off, there's Richard Nixon confessing he attends Bohemian Grove. Okay, which
Yeah.
is
With San Francisco elite.
with San Francisco elites, but that is actually a pretty funny description that of his take on it. And I wonder why he goes there if he thinks that. He must see that there's some. He must have
A good reason.
Yeah,
there.
a good
it has
reason.
to be very influential if if this is how he's talking about it and he still goes.
Yeah, it's like someone the president thinks is important is why he's going there. So.
I don't think he's the only president to have gone there. I think what they were saying, Ronald Reagan was also there, and he's the governor of California before he was president, right? So, I'm sure when he was governor, the same people that he was hanging around were also going to this place. And what Tim Dillon was saying that they want to compromise each other. So, these days to be gay isn't something that is like compromat material, where it's like you're holding something over someone's head, unless they're closeted and they've made an image of not being a certain way. But modern day, like now, you could be an openly gay politician and it's not as compromising. It's not something that's seen as compromising.
Yeah, that's true. Like it's as it moves out of taboo, it no longer becomes compromising information.
But basically what he's saying is it's more compromising because of the fact that a lot of the guys would be Republicans and hiding it. They probably have Christian bases, and so to be seen as gay or be doing these things, and also just getting wild in the woods, like they're probably drinking a lot and probably doing drugs. I mean, and as Alex Jones said, there are hookers there, whether male or female. Like none of this stuff is Republican friendly.
Yeah, and like these are people making laws, and they obviously don't. Well, the ones here don't abide by them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going.
The owl and it's interesting, and I don't know how seriously they take it. I mean, that's the real question, right?
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
you've been
I mean,
there.
the whole gay thing's a side issue.
Right.
The point is that I've talked to people according to Ted Gunderson, the first time I ever heard about this was from this former high-level FBI agent who was going to be the FBI director, but he wouldn't go along with corruption, so he wasn't. It's on record. Gunderson almost became the FBI director.
And he blew up like the things like the Franklin scandal, and he's been
and the Finders and the Finders Club,
cult, which was huge.
Yeah.
Which where the CIA was caught
Confirmed.
trafficking. The Finders is a cult that was caught trafficking children, and the CIA squashed the Florida.
And then Gunderson got it
yeah.
raided in D.C. and
Right.
found a whole CIA facility with the snuff films, everything.
telex machine.
And so he told me
communicating,
about
yeah.
all this, and I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Even though he was Ted Gunderson.
You told us about it, and we actually pulled up one of those stories.
And I was correct.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Ted Gunderson is the reason I know about this, and he said that they get people interested with that ritual. There's like 2,000 members. They bring about 1,000 guests. Not everybody can even bring a guest. Only like the head of each camp can bring a guest. Most of them are nice. Clint Eastwood goes there. Danny Glover goes there. But it's an all-male deal.
Who's the other one?
Danny Glover.
Oh, Danny Glover?
I'm just mentioning who's
Lethal Weapon Danny Glover?
Yeah, I saw him there.
How the fuck is he in there?
They probably like him from the
He's
movie.
just a fun guy.
I saw him when I was there. I saw Danny Glover.
Interesting. I'm starting to believe this is not. I'm starting to believe we can get in. I'm starting to believe it's not that exclusive.
Joe Rogan, they'd have him in immediately.
Immediately.
Not now.
Do a podcast
Oh, absolutely. They don't
in
care.
front of the owl.
But I just want to say that overall,
Why
it
not?
started
You
out
and me.
as a truly artsy liberal thing that I think's good. I think guys deserve to go off the woods like we've done since humans were
butt
humans,
fuck,
and,
right?
and party and do whatever.
Right.
And so it's but. The thing is, then the weird skull. Here's what happened. About 1900, Skull and Bones, that was at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut, that was a German death cult. It took over Bohemian Grove, and that's when they set up that as the central deal. So it's this big, inviting, fun party.
What happens at Skull and Bones? Because that's one of the other rumors about Skull and Bones.
can
They
tell you, I know.
compromise you.
I know.
They compromise you so that you're always a part of this organization.
Well, before he died, I did multiple interviews with Anthony Sutton, the top congressional advisor to Senator Frank Church. And we only know about Sutton because Charlotte Iserby, whose father was high-level Skull and Bones, gave him all of their internal manuals. And she's been a frequent guest. She's retired now.
America's Secret Establishment, an introduction to the Order of Skull and Bones.
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is a Russell Trust true Illuminati. Illuminati set up 1776 to counter our revolution by Adam Weishaupt. It funds the Jacobins. It funds the French Revolution. It's the opposite of a true egalitarian, open liberal revolution. It's the leftist. Always say they're the liberal. Liberal and leftist are two different deals. Leftist is left-hand path Satanism. Liberalism is egalitarian, open society, true liberalism. And so the left-hand path set this up. And then they sent all this opium money they had over in 1831 to Yale to set up a German secret society of the Illuminati, which then has become one of the dominant secret societies. And in there, they do actual satanic rituals. They get in coffins. They do simulated human sacrifices. They have gay sex as part of the ritual. They bathe in huge facilities of feces. This was made by Robert De Niro. Made a movie.
Skull and Bones they're doing that stuff now.
Absolutely, I know somebody broke into it, but
Wow.
who's the?
How can this be proven?
Well, Matt Damon made a movie called The Good Shepherd, I think.
Yes.
And in that, it's Robert De Niro directed it. Okay, and that's super accurate. Where it's got the sword and the devil, and they're in these big vats of cow manure.
They did leak a Facebook photo album of a bunch of Skull and Bones kids hanging on a Deer Island. They kind of look like losers. I know they're not.
no, but
I know they're not, but they kind of look like losers. I mean, it was kind of like
a
embarrassing.
lot of billionaires look like losers.
Yeah, they look like emaciated. You were like, these are the Illuminati. It was kind of like,
No, I
ugh.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Remember ABC News, because they wanted to get Bush in trouble right before the 2004 election. Another frat was able to, because they're all doing this crap, shoot video down into it where they're going, devil equals death, Satan. And they had girls they finally brought into the membership. It was all boys before.
Yeah.
Sacrificing. So, of course, it's idiotic. It's training wheels for what they do. But inside, they go grave rob. They've got Geronimo's skull.
Yeah, the George H.W. Bush supposedly stole Geronimo's skull.
Yeah, you got to do things like...
I don't know if that, but that's a legend rumor thing. Yeah.
It's
Probably
It's been
true.
broken into.
Yeah.
One time the police went in there, but the point is that Skull and Bones, Order 322, is the Illuminati Germanic death cult that now set up chapters all over the U.S., and it took over Bohemian Grove around 1900. And so that's why Bohemian Grove is still this artisan, deal of elitist artist, but then it got co-opted by the Republican Party and Skull and Bones.
So I did not know about that connection between Skull and Bones and Bohemian Grove, but Skull and Bones is like the epitome of like this taboo bond, joining forces to make like some super willed organization that compromises everyone. Like, wasn't that one of the first major conspiracy videos ever on YouTube? Was that guy who asked John Kerry about Skull?
Yeah.
Don't tase me, bro.
So one of the most famous videos of all time on YouTube, or at least when I was younger, I remember, was "Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me." And it's this guy getting tased, and for a long time, all you would see was that part of the video where it was a guy in a public forum getting tased and saying, "Don't tase me, bro, don't tase me." But when a few years ago we looked it up and found out that the actuality of the video was he asks John Kerry whether he was in Skull and Bones or in a secret society, or Skull and Bones the secret society, with George W. Bush when they were both at Harvard.
And they were both in Skull and Bones. And it's kind of crazy because that's an extremely small club. Like, they take I'm going to guess here, but, you know, somewhere on the order of a few tens of people per graduating class. So this is an extremely, it's Yale, I'm pretty sure, but I
thought Yale's was Scroll and Key.
Yale has a lot of secret societies.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure that George Bush and George Bush Sr. went to Yale.
Okay, that's probably correct, yeah.
You know, once you're in this organization, you can be planted in other influential positions, and because your allegiance is to Skull and Bones, right, they have compromise on you, then you're serving their will and not necessarily your own, you know, morals or whatever. And that's how a lot of these people climb high up. And in that election cycle, we had two people, the two main candidates running for president were both Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to do the same
What
thing.
are the chances of that just happening? Like, it's not like you generally have, like, a small group of people and then the leadership comes out of that small group of people.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, it's obviously, it's a internal corruption. And the other thing with that video that's so crazy is that "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy is at an open forum asking the presidential candidate a question, which is relevant. On the face of it, that's what you're supposed to do at the open forum, right? You get to walk up a mic and ask a question. His question was just
he brushed aside and to the point where he was tased.
Yeah, and he asked a legitimate question that, you know, is very
deserved an answer, but the response it got was not appropriate. And I mean, he got literally turned into one of the internet's first memes.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that it's about Skull and Bones.
Yeah, which is crazy. And then another thing that they were talking about is he talked about the left-hand path and liberalism. Like, true liberalism is an egalitarian and free and open society, but what is, like, being done with these societies is, like, left-handed path stuff, which there's the right-handed path, which is generally seen as, within the, you know, mystical and occult circles, as, like, traditional religious concepts. What would be found in the Christian Bible is a right-handed path type religion, and then the left-handed path is more kind of open concept spirituality. Serve yourself, do as thou wilt, as Aleister Crowley would say, or Crowley. It's this idea of, like, hedonistic, free and open lifestyle where no one controls you, and it is opposed to the right-handed path, or maybe not opposed, but juxtaposed with the right-handed path. And interestingly enough, here in Houston, I saw something recently. It was like the Satanic Temple here in Houston is putting on some kind of left-handed path drive to raise money for fundraisers, which, like, so it gets people interested in, like, oh, Satanic Church is just doing these fundraisers and they're trying to help people. It's not so bad. And it's, like, really the underlying idea. Like, you can fool a bunch of people by sugarcoating what a concept is and turning them away from more traditional spiritual paths or religions. Like, the whole idea of the Bible, Satan is this character who is the father of lies and just lies a bunch. And I find it really interesting. Like, the whole point is you can turn anything, like, he's just a character that tries to get people to follow him as opposed to this other side. And so I find it interesting that these like fundraising and good charity stuff like that is kind of turned on its head and used in a way to maybe fool people into thinking something isn't so nefarious.
A lot of times I think of the way Satan lies as kind of like from the fairy tale Little Red Riding Hood, when the wolf goes into the house. What is he dressed up as? Grandma. But you can look and say, oh, he's got huge teeth, a big nose, but all the better to smell you with, or what? All the better to hug you with, all the better to hear you with. But it's a wolf.
Yeah.
And it's dressed up like grandma. And the lies are obvious if you just... That is a satanic temple.
If you just look at it. And I suppose the last thing I'll say here is, like, contrasting left-handed and right-handed path is biblically wisdom in the Proverbs. Wisdom speaks of herself. Wisdom is a female in the Proverbs, and she speaks as something that has existed from the beginning, held by Yahweh, and like she says at her right hand is length of days, and in biblically and in the ancient Near East, the right hand is the hand of strength and honor, or at least strength, and so length of days and strength go together. And then on her left hand is wisdom, is honor and riches. So like at her right hand is length of days, and her left hand is riches and honor. So it's like these things that are kind of, they aren't opposed, they're more juxtaposed, but you can almost maybe see that it's like the left-handed path is, in today's world, maybe something that contains more riches and honor, whereas the right-handed path, the more traditional path, might be something that, you stay, you aren't getting in as much trouble or having as many problems is probably better for your length of days. So just to talk about that, but let's get back into the show here.
That was good.
And Helmut Schmidt, German chancellor, wrote Men in Power as a political retrospective when he retired in the late 80s, saying, I love our Illuminati rituals that we have in Germany in our own sacred groves. But I think they've taken it to a new level with Skull and Bones at Bohemian Grove, and I really enjoy the time we have there.
So these are just these elite institutions where, and Skull and Bones, I think they seek to like create close friends amongst people that may not know each other, create loyalty amongst this group of people.
That's why they got to tell them all the things they've done.
Yeah, you got to tell them all the sexual history, all that stuff. They want these people to be loyal to each other. So when they're not loyal to the laws of America, they're loyal to this oath that they take with each other.
And exactly, and it's like a Team America.
Look at this. Descendant sues Skull and Bones over Geronimo's bones. Documents show George W. Bush's grandfather robbed Geronimo's grave. Members of the secret society allegedly steal valuable things and put them in tomb. Great grandson says Geronimo should be buried in accordance with tradition. Federal law protects Native Americans' rights to their family members' remains.
And let's expand on that. What he just said, because this guy's done his studying. It's like it's like in Team America when the head guy goes.
He's the only person who's ever said I've studied.
No. But he says, he goes, suck my cock, Gary. It's not about sex. In Skull and Bones and Bohemian Grove, what he said is most of these guys are not gay. It's an act of dominance, like, oh, you're a senator, you want to be president, bend over, and like a former president screws you in the ass. And that's what they do. I mean, the ritual is, I'm in charge, bend over.
Well, isn't that a thing with fraternities anyway? Like hazing? You jizz on a cracker?
Exactly. So it's the next deal.
Yeah, but most people in fraternity, I mean, these are the top kids. These are kids that they think are going to occupy leadership positions in the world.
And often do.
So even
Let me give you an example. Even John Ronson saw the photo with me when we snuck in Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
And they had it hanging in, and people say, why didn't you get a video? I have a camera hidden right here. It's Henry Kissinger bent over in a woman's dress, sticking his fingers in his ass.
Bill Clinton in a blue dress with Jeffrey Epstein's house.
Yeah, but that's just an artist rendition. Do you know that was just an artist made that?
Yeah, but
maybe
why?
This was an artist rendition. We're in a clubhouse.
Yeah.
Ronson wrote about this.
Oh, so it's a photo or a painting?
No, it looked like a photo, but let's just say it's a painting. I don't know. It's ancient memory 20 years ago.
Okay.
20 plus, But I mean, Ronson's like, look at that. I'm like, oh, is that Kissinger? Yeah, and it's Kissinger. It's all about being improper. And then they
Right.
all go get caught to compromise each other to be in the club. It's a
Right.
hazing thing.
So that they can trust each other because they're all doing shady shit.
yeah.
Yes. Even if it's an artist rendition, why does Jeffrey Epstein have it in his townhouse, a picture of the president in a blue dress?
Well, because the president flew in his fucking plane
Well, that's what I mean.
26 times.
That's what I mean.
He was
Yeah.
basically.
And by the way,
it was a power
Ghislaine
move,
Maxwell
wasn't it?
is now come out in court. It's getting no attention, confirming, okay, Clinton did fly to that island. That broke 4 days ago. It's gotten zero attention.
Yeah, no, they're not paying. They're not paying attention. We haven't heard anything other than those court documents that just came out.
Listen, I told you, guys, it's not like I'm even that special. My mom's brother was a famous helicopter pilot in Vietnam, running Black Ops into Laos and Cambodia and stuff. And then I shouldn't tell these stories, but no one's ever heard this stuff. But, I remember growing up, him telling me this stuff, and it was true. Like they were, I'm not going to do it. The point is,
please.
no,
What's
I
the
just
problem?
Can't, I just can't do it.
What's the danger? You said so much.
Well, no, I mean, let's just say he took the fall for something that was going on. He didn't get in trouble for it. He got promoted. And he was
Right.
involved in Iran-Contra.
And that's how people get promoted. They fail upward by taking a lot of times the blame for something, or that's like common.
Yeah, so I grew up. I grew up not just him, but other family. It was like something special. About those Navy SEAL guys. You got a security done a bunch of crazy stuff. That's what our military does. It's not what you hear on the news.
Right.
And it's just completely out of control stuff.
Right.
And I mean, my uncle told me. He said, yeah, I know. I got out of working for these groups and everything. As an army officer that was sheep dipped. He wasn't wearing an army uniform and stuff he was doing.
Right.
We were talking high level, like
Yeah.
we're talking running the real stuff. Like
Right,
he had
special ops,
He had
yeah.
he was in charge. He had like the command base in Guatemala City
Right.
because he was like a top Morse code guy.
Yeah.
Of course, they had satellites then, but nobody could read this Morse code coded. So he was sending stuff to the White House Morse code. Like he was like when he was a kid, he was a champion Morse coder. So he wasn't just in command; he was like running all the stuff. And he just said I had to do it because he said it was kids being smuggled out of orphanages by the CIA for sex ops in D.C.
Jesus
And
Christ.
he told me that when he was dying of pneumonia.
Jesus, fuck.
Yeah.
Now, what is it with kids? Why
It's
is
the way to compromise people.
It's the energy too.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody will hurt kids, and he
God.
wouldn't. If somebody will hurt
Yeah,
kids,
it's like, what else? They'll do anything.
episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience are now
That is so true too. That like hurting kids is like that. You have no moral code left, right? Like you're willing to, you'll do anything for whatever will you're serving, and once you're compromised, you're going to be serving the will of this group. Which is there a human leader, or does it just kind of run on its own in some kind of spontaneous satanic organization? I don't know specifically like how that who gives the top-down commands. Is it an interdimensional demon? What
Is it advanced AIs like Skynet that we haven't even figured out exist yet? Like we have no clue.
Yeah, we really have no clue. But the child blackmail, having sex with children blackmail thing, that's totally confirmed. Even in the mainstream news media has, and it's for whatever reason that's like some lower tier frequency that's not front page, but
That's the whole Epstein thing. That's what
Yeah.
was going on. And, when you compromise, what they were talking about, having, like, you go to this Bohemian Grove, and Henry Kissinger, it has, like, his fingers up his butt, and he's in a dress or something, and that's just there. And maybe he's even gone to this place, or it's a picture of him, like a photo, or something like that. But the fact that they keep it up is representative of their kind of mindset at this place. I mean, he was a very influential figure that basically, drove our foreign policy throughout the Vietnam era, and like
even
past
later
that,
too, yeah,
and even
The
later.
Gulf
But
War even, I think.
that was one of the most important things, and the idea of having to fight communism was attached to that.
And if you think about like, this is very submissive stuff they have. Like, do you really view these people as leaders when you know that they're compromised in this way and they submit to this greater organization? Like, are those real leaders? Like, when you think about it, what is it? Is that a natural leader? Are they?
No, they're
gonna-
following. That's
Yeah.
part of the idea, is that they're following what the group think and what the group does.
So like, these people are not leaders, and that we just have to recognize that not everyone's a bad person, but that once you're in these groups, you're going to be, not serving a moral code.
Yeah, you'll be serving the group.
Yeah.
But, that was a really interesting video. I thought it was really relevant to what we talked about in our last video.
Dude, that's crazy that just a week ago we were talking about Bohemian Grove, which it's an interesting topic, but it's not always, relevant to the going-ons. But I guess Alex Jones being on Joe Rogan, it has to come up.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of his most prolific things. So, hope you've enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and look out for more content. I've been Matt.
And I'm Joel.
And we're
FringeCraft.
FringeCraft.